You've heard me say before that Republicans have not held the White House since the presidency of Dwight Eisenhower. And he arguably, in fact, everybody thought in 1951 when he was debating, and 52, throughout 52, as he was or 51, I guess he was contemplating running for, I don't remember, it was the year I was born, but I've read the histories of the time, that he was contemplating running for president, and both parties were courting him because he was this famous general who won World War II. And he ended up running as a Republican in 52 and winning. And I think that that was a wise choice for him because you'd had Democratic rule basically in the United States from 1932 to 1952. What's that, 20 years of Democratic presidencies. And Harry Truman won by a squeaker against Dewey. And America was ready to elect a Republican, give him a chance. So they elected Eisenhower, and he was really a moderate Republican back when that actually meant something. In 56, when he ran for re-election, we have read this on this program, his political platform, his party platform. We've played his ads on this show where they brag about expanding Social Security. This is in 56 when he ran for re-election. He was bragging about how he increased the number of people in the union rolls. He increased the number of people eligible for Social Security, he expanded Social Security disability benefits. He introduced the Occupational Health and Safety Act and gave workplace protection to workers. I mean, as I recall, Eisenhower did a bunch of what you and I might call progressive, or at least typically Democratic stuff, big D Democratic stuff. People loved him and they reelected him, even if Eisenhower had as his vice president Richard Nixon. He kind of didn't talk about that so much. And in 1952, when he ran for president, he ran as the peace candidate. Now, the only other guy that I know of in my lifetime who ran as a peace candidate successfully, now McGovern ran as a peace candidate unsuccessfully, against Richard Nixon in, what would that have been, the election of 72, it must have been. But the only other person I know who ran as a peace candidate was Barack Obama. In 2008, he ran on, I'm going to, get us out of Iraq. It was a stupid war, and I'm going to wind down the war in Afghanistan after I win it, basically, which was, the political thing to say, I suppose. But you've got the Eisenhower clip there, Shane. This is the ad. This is literally the ad in 1952 that Dwight Eisenhower ran for president on. Listen to this.
He has met Europe's leaders, has got them working with us. Elect the number one man for the number one job of our time. November 4th, vote for peace. Vote for Eisenhower. A paid film.
Vote for peace. Vote for Eisenhower. That was his slogan. In 1952, it got him elected. Well, we were Harry Truman had started this war with North Korea, or North Korea started a war with South Korea, and Harry Truman went to their defense, and it was a very unpopular war. Not unlike Vietnam in some ways, and so Eisenhower said, I'll be the peace candidate. So anyhow, that all happened. But this question, where are all the angry white men coming from? They were around back then, but they were the fringe. We had, during that era, that was sort of the era when legal apartheid was slowly coming to an end, more rapidly in the 60s and 70s and 80s. 60s and 70s, really. But really the thing that I think is driving the whole Tea Party rage thing, the don't mess with Texas stuff, the Ted Cruz phenomena that gets Republicans elected, is this idea that white working people have been victimized. And they have. In fact, all working people have been victimized. Wages have been flat for 32 years. So the white working people seem to think that they're the only ones who are getting it, right? And so the Republicans come along and say, oh, look at this, with quotas and preferences and affirmative action, black people are taking your jobs. And foreign people are taking your jobs. And look at those immigrants, they're taking your jobs. Well, you didn't have a job washing people's toilets before? Oh, well, maybe they're not. But still, we'll tell you that they're taking your jobs. Or picking lettuce. But the point is that working people, they may not be politically sophisticated. They may not be well educated. Our schools no longer teach civics in any meaningful way. But they're not dumb. They know they've been screwed. What they don't know is who screwed them. They don't realize that Walmart and all these big chains came up with a whole new business model in the 90s as a result of welfare reform that stepped off perfectly from Ronald Reagan's war on organized labor in 1981 when he fired Patco and put the first head of the Department of Labor, who was hostile to labor, in charge of the Department of Labor, just like he put Bill Bennett, the first head of the Department of Education, who hated and wanted to dissolve the Department of Education. So Reagan started it. The 96 Welfare Act, and ending welfare as we know it, turned it into a business model, turned it into a profit center for Walmart. And so comes Bill Maher, and he asked this question, and this is perfect. He said, this is the question the right has to answer. Do you want smaller government with less handouts, or do you want a low minimum wage? Because you can't have both. If Colonel Sanders isn't going to pay the lady behind the counter enough to live on, then Uncle Sam has to. And I, for one, am getting a little tired of helping highly profitable companies pay their workers. That's what's going on. And the big challenge that the Democratic Party has right now, and progressives in general, is telling those angry white people out there that they've been screwed by the Republicans.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
It's not that they're being screwed by people of color or immigrants. They're being screwed too. It's that they're being screwed by the big corporations.